Good evening, Fernwood. My name's Neil. Thank you so much for joining me on my 38 disc trip through the entire series of Mary Hartman, Mary Hartman. That's 325 episodes. We're on disc 1, episode 6, which is the January 12th episode. If you're not sure what Mary Hartman is, it's an obscure satirical soap opera from the 1970s. I got the box set for the complete series, and I just thought I'd do something to keep myself busy while, we're all shut in for a little while. So, before we jump into the January 12th, 1976 episode, I thought I'd do a recap of things that we would have seen last week. Not a giant recap, but let's look at the three major households in this series. And I'm going to go from the place that has the least stuff going on all the way to the place that has the most stuff going on. So we've got, next door to our main characters, we've got Loretta and Charlie. Loretta is a singer who's trying to build a career. Charlie is her 20 years older than her husband that is very supportive, and maybe just a little bit of a mismatch. Loretta is writing her own songs and maybe just struggling to figure out how to make things stick. That's what's going on for them. The next household that we will see are the Shumways. The Shumways include George and Martha, who are the mother and father of our main character, Mary Hartman, also the mother of Kathy, her sister. And in that household, we see Martha, George, Kathy, and Grandpa Larkin, Raymond Larkin. The main things that we should know there is that Kathy and Martha kind of squabble a little bit because Mom wants to control Kathy's life. George does not get along with Grandpa Larkin because, you got someone in your house that you don't want to be there. That's how that works. But he's still there anyway. And Grandpa Larkin is known as the Fernwood Flasher, who has been on a tear exposing himself to various people within the town of Fernwood, Ohio. Hopefully Grandpa will get the help, but he does seem like he's a little bit bored by not going out and doing these things. Then our final and probably the primary household, we've got the Hartmans, which are Mary and Tom, husband and wife in that, and then their daughter Heather. Inside that household, a big tension between Mary and Tom is that Mary has been needing sexual attention, and Tom, the word is not stated, but basically Tom has not been able to pull through on any of that kind of affection. It's implied that impotence or erectile dysfunction is part of the situation. The word impotence would have been used in the 1970s, and nowadays we would call it erectile dysfunction. Mary and Tom are not communicating well about how to meet their needs or how to work together to support each other through this time. At that time, the vocabulary was not very strong. Then we've got little Heather, the daughter there, recently just had her first period, but also is wanted for questioning by the police because there was a mass murder that happened in the first episode of the show, and she was one of the people who may be connected to that somehow. Not only did the police want to see her, but there was a threatening phone call that Mary received, and that caused her to be a little bit worried. And that is about where we are at the end of last week. We don't need to do a full recap all the time, but hey, there we are. Let's get started on episode 6 of this series, January 12th, 1976. Mary Hartman, Mary Hartman. Let's go.
May I help you?
No, thank you. I'm just waiting for some.
Oh.
Excuse me.
Yes.
May I speak to the lady librarian?
Oh, I'm sorry. She's gone off duty for the day.
Oh.
Is there something I can help you with?
Well, she was saving some books for me.
Oh. Well, these are the only books I see set aside. Are these the books you wanted?
No.
Oh.
They are the books she wants.
I don't see it. Are you sure these aren't the books you wanted?
They
Yes,
are.
but why don't I just take a look just to make sure, okay? I'll just take a little peek here and I'll just see it, just a little peek. I'm married, you know.
Oh. Well, it's mostly married women who take out books on sexual problems.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
You see, she's doing a report on this subject, and, well, it's not exactly on the subject, it's on inanimate objects. It's, do inanimate objects have sex drives, you know? I mean, it's chairs, tables, books. Do they do it?
Mrs. Hartman, take the books.
Oh, thank you so much. Oh, she'll be so happy that I did this. I just can't thank you enough. Could you just put these in a brown paper bag, please?
Oh, certainly.
Thank you.
Sex education is a responsibility we all have. It's the lunchroom at Tom's work.
Oh, boy, that machine really bugs me. Why did they put an out of order sign on? I put more money in there, I've lost it. What's the matter with you? Ha! Damn, look at that.
It's a tuna fish sandwich.
That's a chunky tuna fish sandwich. That's Loretta. She knows I like chunky tuna. You know what that sandwich is?
What?
That's a love song.
Oh, brother.
Just one of the million ways she shows she loves me. One of the million reasons I love her.
Well, you and that Loretta, it's too much, huh?
Charlie's love
Just
language
a normal
is canned meats.
43-year-old bald-headed chunky tuna lover and his normal, out-of-this-world, queen of the silver dollar wife who happen to love each other in a normal, exceptional, lovey-dovey fashion.
Lovey-dovey, bubby-dovey. Is that all you ever think about? Lovey-dovey, huh?
Yeah. There never was anything wrong with a marriage that couldn't be cured by a little lovey-dovey.
Tom's
I don't
dilemma
want to talk about that.
What do you mean?
out loud.
Hey, baby. Hey, you want to see my engine?
Sit down and eat your lunch like good little boys.
Hi, May.
Hi, Tony. Tony, you can stop by the payroll office. I put your check through for your overtime.
It's better to be born lucky than good looking.
And you were born bullet.
I said, no, I can go ahead. I can pick up my option on the recording studio and let Loretta go ahead and make that demonstration record tonight.
Oh,
Hey, May. You only May, but you make me feel like June. Come back again soon, okay? Bye-bye.
She's really nice. She's really a nice woman. Why do these guys treat her like that? Why?
Well,
You know, she's a divorcee. So what? You want to know something? I know you didn't ask me, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I think there's something going wrong between you and Mary.
there's nothing wrong between me and Mary.
Sorry, Aunt.
Knives.
Would you like half a chunky tuna sandwich?
Come in. The elderly gentleman who visited the Fernwood Elementary School and the nurse's Hawaiian luau and exposed himself.
Don't say that. Please don't put it that way.
We feel that when a man exposes himself, it's not a crime. It's
I know, but it certainly.
I mean,
can
literally, it is a
stop you.
crime.
I can take crying, but not weeping. I'm not a psychiatrist, you know, just a psychiatric social worker. I'm very emotional myself, you know. I cry very easily, too.
That's
Me too,
good.
actually.
Join me. Maybe we both should have a very good cry. Maybe that would be good for us.
Oh, don't tempt me.
I think we all need a good cry.
Don't worry about it.
I adore a man who can cry.
Then you're going to be crazy about Grandpa. and you know what?
What?
He's going to like you too.
Why don't we sit down and have a nice, quiet little chat?
The only time I get a nice little chat these days is around grave sites once in a while.
What, may I ask, grave sites make you think of?
The first date I ever had.
My goodness, that's very interesting.
The social worker is really intrigued by that.
Mr. Larkin, that is the most fascinating story I have ever heard.
Well, there's something most people don't do when they talk. At least when they talk to me.
What's that, Mr. Larkin?
Listen,
Well, actually, it takes years to qualify.
Listening's not an easy skill.
Never listen. Did I turn you on with the graveside story?
Oh no, you fascinated me, but you
Maybe a
didn't
little
turn me on. Now about that word, how about honey?
How about what, honey?
No, I mean, the word honey.
My old friend, Al Parkins, he went 40 years without smiling. And they put this big smile on his face, like getting hit by a truck finally made Al happy. Well, nothing made Al happy. And he deserved a right to go out frowning.
Oh, there's plenty left. Just plenty. Well, what do you think?
Yeah, it's okay, nothing special.
Isn't nothing special?
Mary and Kathy are reading the book titled Orgasm and You.
Yeah, so? No, when two people are in love, nothing is unconventional. You mean, you and Tom don't?
I don't want to talk about this anymore.
Well, you... Are you sure he has a pilot light?
Kathy, what kind of a question is that? You know, I don't understand your language at all.
It's a
I mean, I
valid
really
question.
don't know.
Heather's home.
Heather, what are you doing home?
He followed me. He followed me all the way home from school.
Who? What?
Don't look at me. You didn't listen to me when I told you about birth control pills.
Who taught you to talk like this? Heather! Heather!
Well, Mary picked up her books from the library. That's pretty easy. We've got a hot new boss-like character, Meg, at Tom and Charlie and George's workplace that seems to be kind of flirting with Charlie a little bit. Grandpa Larkin, and I didn't catch the name. I think it's Mrs. Belichick. We've met Grandpa Larkin's social worker therapist. There seems to be a kind of flirtation happening there that I'm not professionally comfortable with. I think it's really unprofessional for a social worker therapist to be taking on those emotions. But, you know, maybe you can feel the emotions but not act on them. I guess we'll see where that goes. And then finally, we've got a little bit movement forward on Heather, and Heather has been chased home from school by potentially the man who made that threatening call in the last episode. Well, we've got a week ahead of us, folks. That was Mary Hartman from January 12th, 1976. I'm not going to guess what's happening, but I guess let's unpack my own feelings a little bit. Sexual education is something that I feel each and every one of us should be learning. I feel like in America, we didn't get it for a long time, and I don't know honestly what's being taught in schools right now, but we probably could be doing a lot better. And depending on what state you're in, you're probably not getting that good right now, but it was probably somewhat better than it was in 1976. I'm not super comfortable with George and his therapist, only because there seems to be some sparks flying there, and as we notice when people act in a soap opera like sparks are flying, that means the sparks are actually flying. It's not an accident that we see these glances that look like flirt. I'm not sure what's going to happen with this Meg character that seems to be kind of popular at work. She kind of had, I know the word wasn't in use at the time, but she kind of wore these cougar vibes, although not going for younger men, just the men that happened to be there. She's just, you know, an attractive lady of about the same age as the people who work with her. Not sure why that's a cougar, but, you know, from our perspective, when I look at the clothing, she looks older, so cougar. And that's January 12th, 1976, of Mary Hartman. Thank you so much for coming along this ride, and we will see you tomorrow night in Fernwood.